Welcome to the deep dive. We are really so glad you're here today.
Yeah, it's great to be here. We have a lot of ground to cover.
We really do. If you've ever felt like the worlds of technology and finance are just moving way too fast to keep up with, you are in the exact right place. We've custom tailored this discussion today just for you to give you a bit of a shortcut.
Right, a shortcut to becoming fully well-informed on one of the most, rapidly evolving and frankly confusing spaces out there.
hmm
We're talking about decentralized finance, or DeFi, and NFTs.
Exactly. And our mission today is to give you a beginner-friendly but comprehensive overview of where this tech actually stands right now. We want to cut through all the noise and find the genuine utility.
Because it is a space that has seen immense hype, some incredibly dramatic crashes, and now a really fascinating period of maturation.
So to do that, we are pulling insights from a massive stack of 2024 reports. We're looking at the CoinGecko Annual Industry Report, Binance Research's deep dives into DeFi markets and restaking, a really great A16Z crypto report on NFT royalties, and some foundational beginner guides.
Yeah, we've synthesized all of it so you don't have to go read hundreds of pages of technical white papers.
Okay, let's unpack this. To really understand what's happening right now, we have to look at the broader market context of the past year.
Right. The numbers from the end of 2024 are just striking. The total crypto market cap almost doubled across the year.
Doubled. That's wild.
Yeah, it saw a 97.7% increase, ultimately hitting $3.4 trillion in the fourth quarter.
And looking at this purely through the lens of market data and setting all politics aside entirely, the reports note that a major catalyst for that massive Q4 surge was the re-election of Donald Trump.
Right. Specifically, the market's reaction to his DeFi-related activities.
Exactly. And just to be completely clear, we are strictly impartial here. We aren't endorsing any political viewpoints. We are just conveying the source material's market analysis. When capital sees a macro event like that, it moves. The financial markets essentially went into overdrive.
The capital is definitely flowing. But, to understand where it's flowing and why it matters to you, we should probably do a quick level set on the difference between traditional finance, TradFi, and decentralized finance.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We all know the bottlenecks of the traditional system we grew up with.
For sure. You have centralized gatekeepers like banks and brokers. They facilitate transactions, but that creates a lot of friction.
Right, you deal with limited accessibility based on borders, slow settlement times, and high fees because every single middleman needs to take a cut.
Exactly. So DeFi's promise has always been to recreate those exact same financial services, but to strip away the middlemen entirely using the blockchain.
Instead of a loan officer approving your paperwork, DeFi uses smart contracts.
Which are basically just self-executing pieces of code. When certain conditions are met, the transaction happens automatically.
It's completely transparent on a public ledger, it never closes, and anyone with an internet connection can tap into it.
What makes that automation so powerful is a concept called composability, because everything is built on open source code.
I love the analogy for this. It's essentially money Legos.
Money Legos, exactly.
Because DeFi is composable, you can take all these different financial protocols and literally stack them on top of each other. Think about how you'd use this. You could take a digital asset, swap it for another token on a decentralized exchange.
Take that new token, lend it out on a completely different protocol to earn yield.
Right, and then use the receipt for that loan as collateral somewhere else. You are building your own interconnected financial structures piece by piece.
And the code just seamlessly talks to itself. It's a highly efficient system, and the capital influx totally reflects that utility.
Let's talk about those numbers because they are huge.
They are. By mid-2024, the total value locked in DeFi, which is the actual amount of assets deposited into these protocols, skyrocketed over 75%.
To nearly $95 billion, right?
Yep, 94.9 billion to be exact. That growth hit lending, liquid staking, and decentralized exchanges across the board.
But the data also reveals a really interesting paradox. Even though the absolute dollar amount locked in DeFi was growing rapidly, DeFi's actual share of the global crypto market cap took a hit early in the year.
Yeah, it tumbled from 4.6% down to 3.5%.
Which seems counterintuitive if the space is growing.
It does, but that drop is a perfect illustration of how quickly attention shifts in this industry. DeFi was simply upstaged by newer, flashier narratives.
Ah, right. Meme coins.
Meme coins, and the intersection of crypto and artificial intelligence. That sector just exploded.
The numbers on that are nuts. The market cap for AI agents alone increased an astonishing 530.9%, starting from March 2024.
The speculative money just chased the shiny new things. But while that was happening, the developers in DeFi were quietly heads down, building the next foundational layer of the ecosystem.
Which brings us to arguably the most significant architectural development in DeFi right now. Here's where it gets really interesting.
We are entering the era of the restaking revolution.
Restaking. Okay, so to grasp restaking, we need to take one step back and define standard staking.
Right. In a proof-of-stake blockchain network, like Ethereum, you need security. You get that security by having people stake or lock up their own crypto tokens.
It basically acts as a financial security deposit.
Exactly. If they validate network transactions honestly, they earn a yield. If they act maliciously or try to cheat the system, their deposit is slashed, meaning it's confiscated.
That's the basic mechanism. So restaking is taking those assets that are already staked, already acting as a security deposit for Ethereum, and securely repurposing them to provide security for entirely different applications.
That's the core mechanic. And the reason this is such a massive breakthrough is that it solves a fundamental bottleneck in technology development.
The cold start problem.
Yes. Let's say you are a brilliant developer. You're building a new decentralized application, maybe a new data network, or an oracle, which is basically a bridge that feeds real-world data onto the blockchain.
Historically, to make that new oracle secure, you couldn't just write good code.
No, you had to launch your own brand new token, convince a whole bunch of people to buy it, and then convince them to stake it to secure your network.
Which is an incredibly expensive and time-consuming process.
Extremely. You are forcing software developers to worry about building complex crypto-economic security from scratch. Furthermore, it fragments security across the whole industry. Every new app is an isolated island of security.
Enter EigenLayer. They are the pioneer of this restaking space, and the easiest way to think of them is that they offer Ethereum security as a service.
It's a game changer. They've aggregated over $7 billion in total value locked.
So now, instead of building security from scratch, that brilliant developer building an oracle can essentially just rent security from EigenLayer's massive pre-existing pool.
They've created a highly efficient free market for decentralized trust. And they do this through a three-pronged marketplace.
Break that down for us.
First, you have the restakers. These are the everyday users who already have staked Ethereum. They agree to let EigenLayer use their deposit to secure other things.
They earn extra yield for doing this, but they also agree to take on extra slashing risks, right?
Correct. If the new networks fail or act maliciously, they risk their assets. Second, you have the node operators. These are the folks actually running the computer hardware and software, doing the heavy lifting of validating the transactions.
Okay, and the third prong.
Third, you have the actively validated services, or AVSs. These are the new applications, those oracles or data networks that are buying this pooled security. They pay a fee for that security, which flows back to the node operators and the restakers.
Hold on, I'm seeing a contradiction here. We just talked about how amazing the money Legos are, how you need to be able to move assets around freely to build these financial structures.
I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, because if I lock my Ethereum up in EigenLayer to secure a network, it's stuck. It's acting as a security deposit. I can't build with it anymore, can I? It breaks the composability.
That is the exact liquidity trap that liquid restaking protocols were built to solve.
Okay, walk us through how that works.
So protocols like Ether.fi or Puffer Finance step in as an intermediary layer. When you deposit your assets with them to be restaked, they don't just take your tokens and leave you empty-handed.
They give you a receipt.
Exactly. This receipt is called a liquid restaking token, or an LRT.
So my original assets are off doing the hard work, providing security and earning yield in the background, but I have this receipt, this LRT, sitting in my wallet.
And that receipt remains completely liquid. You can take that LRT and plug it right back into the DeFi Money Lego ecosystem.
So I can use it as collateral to borrow against, I can trade it, I can lend it out.
You get the yield from securing the network without sacrificing your ability to participate in the broader financial system.
It's a massive innovation. You're essentially having your cake and eating it too, which has created a sub-market for these liquid tokens that is already worth over $3.5 billion.
And while this whole shared security concept started on Ethereum, it is spreading rapidly. We're seeing protocols like Babylon building this for the Bitcoin network.
And Picasso doing the same thing for Solana. It really is a fundamental shift in how the infrastructure of the future internet is secured.
So DeFi is rebuilding the plumbing of finance. But what about the actual things we own? The assets themselves?
That brings us to the elephant in the room. NFTs.
Yeah, we all remember the absolute mania of 2021.
The stories of people paying millions of dollars for pictures of bored apes. But looking at the 2024 data, My dreams of retiring on a pixelated picture of a rock are officially dead.
The reality check is stark. The market has certainly experienced a severe correction.
The data shows that NFT sales volumes dropped 45% quarter over quarter at one point last year.
Ethereum had its weakest performance since 2021, and Solana dropped 57% from its peak. A staggering 95% of NFT projects from that boom period have lost all of their value.
Even massive corporate players are stepping back. Nike, for instance, is officially sunsetting its major digital sneaker project, RTFKT, after acquiring it 3 years ago.
It sounds bleak, but diving into the research, there's a massive silver lining here. This isn't the death of NFTs.
It's the painful, necessary maturation of the technology.
Exactly. The focus is definitively shifting away from artificial scarcity. That was the driving force behind the expensive JPEGs. Now the market is moving toward genuine digital ownership and actual utility.
It's shedding the purely speculative projects and making room for applications that solve real problems.
And the beginner-friendly use cases exploding right now are really fascinating. First, we have hybrid NFTs.
Oh, right, the ERC 404 standard.
Yes. To understand this, you just have to remember that a regular cryptocurrency, like one Bitcoin, is fungible, meaning any one Bitcoin is identical to another. An NFT is non-fungible, meaning it's completely unique.
This new standard mashes them together.
It allows for fractional ownership of a unique asset. So instead of having to buy a massively expensive, illiquid NFT outright, you could just buy a fraction of it represented by fungible tokens.
The Pandora project used this standard and quickly hit a $180 million market cap because it solved the problem of NFTs being too expensive for average users to interact with.
Another massive trend is RWA tokenization, which stands for real-world assets.
This is where you digitize physical things, real estate, fine art, luxury goods, and you represent them as NFTs on the blockchain.
It allows a physical building to be broken down into smaller, purchasable tokens, opening up global investment opportunities for assets that are traditionally incredibly hard to buy and sell.
We're also seeing huge leaps in gaming. Platforms like the Sandbox are proving that NFTs can give players true ownership of their in-game items.
Right, because in a traditional video game walled garden, if you spend hundreds of dollars on a digital skin and the game studio goes bankrupt and shuts off the servers,
Your item is gone forever.
but with NFTs, that item lives on the blockchain. You actually own it. You can sell it on a secondary marketplace regardless of what happens to the original game developer.
And we are also seeing the utility of NFTs expand heavily into community engagement and fundraising. The reports highlight a very notable example of this from 2024.
Right, former President Trump's NFT venture.
Which sold out in a single day. And again, maintaining strict neutrality and looking at the mechanics objectively, it proved the immense power of NFTs as a tool for political fundraising.
It galvanized a core community of supporters through exclusive digital collectibles.
It's a very clear demonstration of utility beyond just digital art.
But as NFTs evolve into these more complex financial and utility instruments, the industry has run into a very stubborn technical problem regarding how creators get paid.
Specifically, the dilemma of NFT royalties. This was such an interesting realization for me. During the boom, everyone thought that if an artist minted an NFT, they could set a 10% royalty, and the blockchain would automatically enforce that payment every single time.
It is perhaps the most common myth in the entire NFT space.
It really is.
Smart contracts are very good at executing code, but they are blind to real-world context. From the perspective of the smart contract, it simply sees a digital asset moving from wallet A to wallet B.
It cannot distinguish if that movement is a sale for $1 million on an open marketplace, a simple transfer between two wallets owned by the exact same person, or a gift being sent to a friend.
Because the code can't tell the difference between a sale and a gift, it doesn't know when to trigger a royalty payment.
People realized they could just bypass the royalty entirely. So to try and force the issue and protect creators, developers started restricting how NFTs could move.
Which creates a massive trade-off between enforcement and composability. Remember the money Legos.
Yep.
For this entire ecosystem to work, assets must be freely composable. They need to be able to interact with any application, either by reading to check who owns the asset or writing to facilitate a transfer.
But to enforce royalties, creators started implementing block lists, which block specific marketplaces that are known to ignore royalties.
Or they used allow lists, which lock the NFT down so it can only be traded on a few pre-approved platforms.
The problem is, if you restrict where an NFT can go, you break the money Legos.
If an NFT is locked to an allow list, You might not be able to use it as collateral in a DeFi lending protocol or bring it into a new blockchain game. It's safe, and the creator gets paid, but the asset is isolated. What's fascinating here is a brand new incentive-based solution proposed in the research we reviewed called the right of reclaim.
It completely reframes the problem. Instead of using restrictive code to force a royalty payment, it uses basic human psychology and market incentives.
To understand the right of reclaim, you have to imagine that every NFT actually has two owners, not just one.
Okay, walk me through this.
First, you have the asset owner. This is the person who currently holds the NFT in their digital wallet. Second, you have the title owner. The title owner is the last person who officially paid the creator a title transfer fee, which acts as the royalty.
Under this new framework, if the asset owner and the title owner are the exact same person, everything is normal.
But if the asset owner and the title owner are different people, the title owner has a superpower. They can legally reclaim the NFT and pull it back into their own wallet at any time.
Let's play this out because it's so clever. Let's say I own an NFT, I bought it properly, so I am both the asset owner and the title owner. Now, I decide to give it to you as a gift for your birthday. I transfer it to your wallet.
I am now the asset owner.
Right. But because no royalty fee was paid during that transfer, I'm still the title owner. Because we are friends, you trust that I'm not going to use my power to snatch the gift back.
And crucially, the NFT moved freely. No allow lists stopped it from moving.
The composability is completely preserved. The money Legos still work.
But now, let's look at a marketplace sale under this same framework. Let's say you go to an open marketplace to buy a valuable NFT from a total stranger. You send them your cryptocurrency, and they send you the NFT. You are now the asset owner. But unless you pay that royalty fee to the creator right then and there, that stranger remains the title owner.
Wow. I'm putting myself in the shoes of that buyer. That means that stranger has my money, and they have the legal right to press a button and snatch the NFT right back out of my wallet. I'd be terrified.
Which is exactly the point. The incentive structure is completely flipped. As a buyer, you are heavily, desperately incentivized to ensure that the title transfer fee, the royalty, is paid the very second you buy the asset, just to remove that reclaim risk.
You want to align the asset ownership and the title ownership as fast as possible.
Marketplaces would naturally just bundle this fee into the purchase price to protect their users.
It solves the royalty enforcement problem not by breaking the composability of the code, but by aligning human behavior. It is such an elegant solution to a really complex technical problem.
It is, and it speaks to the overarching theme of all these reports. The technology is moving away from the loud, speculative casino phase and is quietly being built into the foundational infrastructure of the future internet and global finance.
Let's take a breath because we have covered a massive amount of ground today.
We really have.
We've gone from the foundational concept of DeFi acting as composable money Legos, removing the friction of traditional banks. We've explored how EigenLayer is using restaking to share billions of dollars of security across new networks without locking up user liquidity.
And we've seen how the NFT market has crashed, but is evolving into fractional assets, real-world tokenization, and using brilliant psychological mechanics like the right of reclaim to ensure creators get paid without breaking the open internet.
So what does this all mean? Why does this matter to you as a listener? It means the fundamental rules of ownership and finance are being rewritten right now, right in front of us. Which leads us to one final thought to leave you with.
Yeah, if we connect everything we've discussed today, the convergence of traditional finance and DeFi, the tokenization of real-world assets, and these new rules of digital ownership, imagine a near future where everything physical is tokenized. Your house deed, your car title, your academic degrees. They are all real-world assets living as composable tokens on a blockchain. Now, what happens if a vulnerability in a DeFi smart contract interacts with your real-world property?
That's a scary thought.
If your tokenized house deed is moving through these systems, could incentive structures like the right of reclaim act as a failsafe, saving your physical assets from digital theft? Or, conversely, could this exact same mechanism create a terrifying new breed of automated digital repo men who can legally reclaim your physical assets with the push of a button because of a missed automated payment?
A slightly terrifying but incredibly important thought to mull over as the digital and physical worlds continue to collide. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you feel a little more well-informed and a lot more curious about where this technology is heading. Keep questioning, keep learning, and we will catch you next time.